Hey everyone, we're going to do a quick mounting video here on how to mount your switch hitter to the wheelchair using the old mounting system. Now, some wheelchairs have an armrest here, which is okay. You can use some of those same parts from that wheelchair, or you can use the hardware that I'll show you in a minute that should have been sent with your um, package. Now let's kind of go over a few things. You'll get your switch hitter, and it should come with the battery adapter, the base, the top and bottom, and then one of the brackets. If you have the old mounting bracket, you will not have these three holes where these three silver screws are. You'll only have the one center hole with the guide hole up here. I'll cover the new mounting system in another video, so for this, don't worry about that. You should have gotten this here, plus the bottom and top for the bat holder, and then 4 screws that will go into uh, the bat mount. They just go in there. Now the old mounting bracket came with about 8 different pieces. You should have this piece, this piece, then the 2 sleeves, and then 3 bolts. Well, 4 bolts. 2 of them that look like this. Should be 2 of these. 1 of these. And then the 1 bolt, the big bolt that goes on the back of your switch hitter. Now again, don't mind this black piece. This will not be on the old mounting system. That is for the new mounting system. First, what we want to do is you're going to mount it to the right side of the wheelchair. So it's the user's that's sitting in the chair, the user right side. Or if you're standing behind the chair, it's your right side. This mounting system goes in these holes here. The wheelchair has to have the holes along this rail. Now, like I mentioned before, some armrests already come with this mounting system to mount the chair to, or the armrest to. So if your wheelchair does not have that type of armrest or doesn't have an armrest at all, then you can use these brackets. It's just quicker to take the 2 bolts off of the armrest, mount the switch hitter, and then take the switch hitter off and remount the armrests. So what we're going to do is you're going to find the right height within here to mount this. And what we're going to need are these 2 long screws and this piece. Now, these 2 holes go towards the top, or the top of the wheelchair, and then this elbow goes to the back to where you're standing if you're pushing the wheelchair. So it would look something like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece here, the beveled side goes to the back where those holes are. So what I'm going to do is put the 2 screws, or a screw, in that beveled side. And put it through. Wrong hole. Hold on. Went too high. And a lot of this on to where you can mount it is going to depend on the hardware that is on the wheelchair. Okay. So there's that. And then you put the other screw in the other hole. Now, you'll need this piece and this piece. Now, some of these holes are drilled bigger or worn out more than what the bolts are, the size of the bolts. That's where these sleeves come in. It helps fill the gaps in those holes. Now, you do not need these. These are optional. So if your bolts fit through those holes just fine, then don't worry about it. Now, again, we're going to mount this piece. You want the 2 holes towards the top and this elbow towards the back. Like so. Then you're going to take this piece that's got the threads on it, and we're going to take and tighten these bolts down to this piece. Now this piece should line up with these holes here, and you want the parts that stick up to go in those holes. This process does take some time. What I'm going to do to help with time of the video is I am going to take this off. Oh. Maybe. Oop. There we go. All right. Now that we got those mounted on, what you're going to need is, depending on what kind of bolt you have here, because I have this new mount on here, my bolt is going to be different. Most of your bolts that came with the old system is a 1/2 inch hex head bolt. It should be about 2 inches long. Mine, I'm going to have to use an Allen wrench. And then you're going to need the smaller bolt, which should be a 10 millimeter. So for mounting this bracket onto the wheelchair, all you're going to need is a 5/32 Allen 5/32 Allen wrench. To mount the switch hitter to this mount, all you're going to need is a 10 millimeter and a half inch wrench. You're going to take your bolt and put it through the center hole, and that bolt is going to go through this bottom hole right here, like so. Oh, let's see. We're going to use a different switch hitter. Your switch hitter will look like this. None of that other mount. It might or might not have these 3 holes. The new switch hitters come with these 3 holes just in case you get the new mounting system. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your bolt, put it in through this hole, and if it might be tough to get it through the first couple times until the paint kind of wears out in the hole there. Okay. So now that's in there, that's going to go in this bottom hole. And then you would take the nut onto the back and tighten that up. Then this little bolt goes in the slot. So this piece right, this slot right up here is where this little bolt would go into. Now on this mounting bracket, there's those 2 top holes. You want to pick the hole that's more towards the top. They're offset just a little. So you want the furthest top hole. Put that in there. And tighten it up. Okay. Now what this does is if you tilt your wheelchair, so if your wheelchair tilts, what this will do is you loosen up your 2 screws, and this will allow you to rotate the chair or rotate the switch hitter to whichever way you tilted the chair. Now that the wheelchair is mounted, we'll take off this top bracket, which is a 3/16 Allen wrench. Okay. Now that that is off, we'll take our bat. These here, one of the pieces has a B on the bottom, and that just indicates which one of these brackets is the bottom. Now the B will be on the bottom and face to the front of the wheelchair. You can see where this hole is bigger back here than it is up there. The bigger slot goes towards the back of the bat. And the same with this. The bigger slot goes towards the back of the bat. I like to work crisscross. So I get one side started, and then I go to the one that is kitty corner from that one and get that one started. You don't want to tighten them down too tight just yet until you get them all pretty well seated in there. Now you may notice that when you put your bat in here, that there may be extra room. Some wooden bats have different thicknesses, but it also depends if you use a plastic bat, which their handles usually tend to be a little bigger, or if you use aluminum bats, they got the little rubber grips on there. So there's a whole bunch of different thicknesses. So we tried to kind of pick a happy median. So if your bat does slide through there a little bit or too freely, you can kind of push it in there until it's nice and snug. Or what I have done is take some paper towels and just wrap it around, or some kind of felt or um, some other type of material, and wrap it around the handle of the bat right in this area and give it that little extra thickness to help support it. Now we've mounted the old mounting bracket to the wheelchair. We've mounted the switch hitter to the wheelchair. We've attached the bat to the switch hitter. The next thing we're going to do is we need a battery and a switch. Now the battery just slides right on the bottom. Might have to wiggle it a little bit. I'll show you. So here's the battery portion. Now the battery will just slide in there. You may have to wiggle it around. It's easier if you hold this button down, push it in until it's in there. There. Now all switch hitters have a safety switch on the back and the audio jack for the switch. Now what I like to do before I use the switch hitter to make sure that it's working is plug in my switch, turn the switch hitter on, and then listen for the little clunk. That clunk tells me that the switch hitter is working. So now what we're going to do is take the switch and put the battery on this one. Hook up our switch. You always want to hook up your switch first. Then bring the back, and it should lock into place. Now, I have not flipped the switch on, and I touch my switch and nothing happens. Now, once I flip my switch and I touch my switch button, it should activate the bat. Oops. There we go. And there you go. Again, locked it back into place. You'll hear just a little clunk. Then I'll hit the switch, and you'll hear that clunk again, and the bat will release. Now, if you're not hitting anything, do not leave this in the locked position unless you're ready to use it, just for safety reasons. The other thing is once this is locked and you turn it on and you activate it, make sure you turn it off. If you leave it on and the switch continues to be pressed, over a few minutes, the solenoid inside will heat and expand. Now, sometimes, depending on how bad it expanded, once it cools, it may still work, but you do run into the issue of the solenoid not going back to its normal size, not allowing for the release pin to move. So make sure that after you hit it, you either pull the switch away, unplug it, or just turn it off. The easiest thing is just to turn it off and then run your bases, or however you're going to use this. Just make sure you turn it off after each use. The other thing to remember is do not bring this back and let it just fly willingly. Make sure you have a stop between the user in the chair and the bat. If you may have to, put your hand in between and act as a buffer so it doesn't hit the user. I think this is just a quick run through of how to set up or mount your switch hitter and use it in a quick form. I will make videos eventually of more in depth and just step-by-step videos, so it's not all into one long video. If you still watch this video and have questions, please reach out to us and we will gladly connect to you through Zoom or FaceTime and kind of walk you through the process, if you have any issues. Until then, I hope you enjoy the switch hitter, and I hope you get to enjoy watching the expression and the independence that these individuals now get to do in playing baseball. Thanks.